I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, July the 10th, brought to you in part by Endovac Animal Health. Been in business for over 40 years, and Endovac beef with Immune Plus is safe enough for calves and strong enough for cows. It's a real solution for real cattlemen. For more information, go to endovacanimalhealth.com and check out the video that I'm going to attach at the end of this feeder flash for more information on that. Chomping at the bit. We talked about this on the last episode of the feeder flash. Your speculators on your cattle futures, your funds that dominate your cattle futures and drive it whichever way it goes, they are chomping at the bit for this cattle market to crash. They cannot wait. And I realize all your fundamentals say that this rally that we've been on, this high price level with this big plateau we've been up here on with all-time record high prices, your fundamentals say that that needs to continue or get higher. But they can't wait. They're just anxious. They want to drive this cattle market lower. They know that the cattle market is a slave to the futures, and they dominate the futures, so they tell it what to do. We started out the day on Tuesday, higher futures. Everything was going good. Your cattle in your sale barns were selling higher. Your fat cattle at the Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota were selling high. Everything was going good. Your big videos, both Western Video Market and Superior's Week in the Rockies, were all going good. And then all of a sudden, getting along there about noontime, everything just turned. And for the most part, it had to do with your box beef cutout values. They came out sharply lower at noon on Tuesday, and it tripped selling from your funds and from your speculators on your futures market. And I mean, down it tumbled. Cassie Fish, who writes the beef, if you guys don't check that out, check out the Beef Read. It's interesting technical information there. She said the cattle futures dropped 387 points in 10 minutes. Now, that didn't happen when we had people standing in the pits and using hand gestures. It all has to do with everything being on a computer and algorithms taking over. Whenever we start seeing selling like that, the algorithms just kick in, and then they sell faster than you can put the orders in and tank the cattle market that fast. And then everything just changed. All of a sudden, everything just changed. And I was talking to one of the most influential and well-respected country feeder cattle buyers in the Flint Hills area and all the tall grass region there on Tuesday, and he told me that moods were pretty sour on Tuesday afternoon, and he was a little frustrated because some of his better customers that hadn't sold yet were wanting to sell their yearlings, and he couldn't get them the top price that he was getting just a few days earlier, and in fact it had fallen $3 or $4 back than what he was giving just a few days earlier, late last week. And that's how fast things can change, even on direct trade out there in the Flint Hills. But I was telling him, you know, things aren't right. The futures should be watching you. They should be watching what you're doing. They should be watching what other big feedlots are doing out in the Flint Hills, in the sale barns, what's going on in the fat cattle arena, what's going on in your fat cattle auction. They have a big one on Tuesday up there in Yankton, South Dakota. The futures should be looking at that and responding to that. But it's all jacked up. The industry responds to the futures. And, you know, talking to other people, and they said it was noticeably tougher on the market on Superior's Week in the Rockies for those yearlings that were selling later in the day rather than the ones that sold earlier. And it just all because of the futures, the damn futures. And, you know, everybody's just a slave to it, and we hate what's going on, but that's just the way it goes. And and had several people poking fun at me because I was still so bullish on the last feeder flash. I'm just bullish on the fundamentals. I'm just telling you how good the fundamentals are. I don't know what the hell the market's going to do, especially when everybody's looking at the futures, and we know that this market, and we know that the futures are top heavy. Of course, your live cattle futures aren't near as top heavy as what your cash market is, because they don't get anywhere close to what cash market is. Your August live cattle ended the day at 182.35. We sold fat cattle direct in the 5 areas as high as 195, and that was on mixed lots in Iowa. And at Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota, we sold cattle up to 205. And in your August live cattle, it's not that long till August, settled at 182.35. What's that got to do with what fat cattle are actually worth? Nothing. And it's just frustrating. You know, your packers are grinding round and chuck primals because we're so short of slaughter cows and bulls. And so, you know, and that takes a lot of effort to take those and take them and get them ground up, because they're worth more. You know, 90% lean ground beef is, you know, dressed as $370.89. Your choice cutouts, after being down big on Tuesday, are only $325.66. But that 90% lean ground beef is up 28%. Your cow slaughter is down 18% for the year. Where is the cows going to come from? That's not going to get fixed. I was talking to another friend of mine in Mississippi on Tuesday, and he owns 2 sale barns, and said that you know, the guys are just bringing the cows in, and you know, and even if they're short bred, they're not too worried about it. They want that that bird in hand rather than the one in the bush, because they know that those cows are selling really good right now, and it's easier to do that than waiting and trying to get another calf out of them. And the cows just keep coming. But the cow slaughter is down. Dairy cow slaughter is down also, about the same as what your beef cow slaughter is. We're just running out of them. There's fewer places to put them. We had some pretty significant droughts over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and we're just really short. And people are short of money. Inputs have been higher. They needed the money out of their heifers. They couldn't keep them back and start trying to increase the herd. And that's just where we're at within the industry. But it just buffaloes me being a fundamental type guy whenever you see the futures do that. Of course, it did the same thing on Monday as what it did on Tuesday, but it did it big enough on Tuesday that it started affecting your cash markets. And you know, and I talk to these people, these commodity people, and they tell you you're never going to understand the board if you keep trying to relate it to anything fundamental, because it absolutely has nothing to do with what's going on fundamentally. Let's talk about that board. August live cattle futures down $2 even. Now, it could go down more than that. It could go down less than that. Don't tell me that that wasn't just something that was pegged, because it was down $2. October was down $2 smooth also. That's just how far they decided to take it. They can absolutely throw a dart at a list of numbers and make it whatever they want. They can put it wherever they want to with this computerized trading and the algorithms. But August live cattle ended the day at 182.35. I mentioned that earlier. October down $2 smooth at 183.30. Your back months on live cattle down $1.25 to down $1.87. August feeder cattle down $3.45 at 255.72. September down $3.80 at 256.82. Now, aren't you frustrated whenever you've been backgrounding, you got your cattle straightened up, you turned them out on grass, you got the right kind of cattle, they're doing it all out there, you're keeping them green, you've just got the best thing in the world out there to sell, and all of a sudden they're worth several dollars a hundred less just because of that. And you know, and it's so frustrating, because you know it doesn't have anything to do with it. And the damn Cash trade is just a slave to the future, especially when they want to jack with it like that. But your back months on feeder cattle down 220 to down 352. Corn was up a little, up 4.5 cents a bushel, just over that threshold, $4.25 a bushel. Soybeans down 12 3/4 on Tuesday at 11.61.5. Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 7.5 cents a bushel at 5.81. Fat cattle trade, didn't see a lot. We've seen a little bit of early trade. We've got some weak sisters that puked some cattle there because they got scared of the board, but not much really. But Iowa sold 1,800. They've sold 2,600 for the week. Live sales 190 to 194. But then mixed steers and heifers, which would be kind of a plainer off-market type deal, bring 195. That's higher than what the 190 to 194 was. So that just goes to show you not a lot going on there. Nebraska didn't sell anything on Tuesday. Kansas sold 450 head at 317 dressed. We haven't seen 317 yet. That's a high. So, just a hodgepodge of crazy trade out there in the direct trade area, the 5-area feeding region. Texas didn't have any confirmed sales on Tuesday, although packers were actively offering call-in bids at 188. If you'll take 188, I'll call in and see if I can get it. That's kind of like asking the prettiest girl to the prom. If I asked you to go to the prom, would you go with me? No, I'm not asking. I'm just saying, if I were to ask you, would you go? It's kind of a chicken shit way to do things right there. But I'm sure a few people probably caved at the 188. The guys I talked to were not about to cave in at 188. We'll see how they hold up, and we'll see what the board does throughout this week. But your fat cattle auction, your market finder right there through competitive bidding in an auction setting, Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota, they had 1,220 head of fed cattle in overnight, 2,100 of them total. Conventional fed steers and heifers sold from 190 to 199.50. Now that was unevenly steady, but it was $4 lower to $2 higher. And Gary Marks there that helps us out getting this information, and he's a retired fat cattle buyer. He knows what's going on there. He likes to watch the game. He said the reason that the market, the prices were kind of uneven there was because there was a lot of two-way cattle in there, meaning that a good many of them were going back to feed. Even some cattle weighing up there, 1,300 pounds, they'll take those back to feed because, these packers are not scared of big carcasses anymore. So he said that kind of changed up the trade a little bit, but I'm only quoting the ones that actually went to slaughter. The program cattle that they had at Yankton, drug-free and non-implanted cattle, bring from 196 to 205. Now that was unevenly steady also, $1.50 lower to $1 higher on that. But a lot of this triggered by box beef cutout values. Now we did hear that the rumors out there that a major plant in the Midwest had a pretty big power outage, and that they were dark for a while. Never got any confirmation on that. It sounded like kind of a fishy type of deal too there, but we're not thinking that that's what caused the board to do that. It was mostly the noon box beef cutout value report, but the closing end of the day Tuesday trade on box beef cutout values, choice was down 481 at 325.66. Select was down also, but not nearly as much, down 41 cents at 304.31. Slaughter 232,000 through the first 2 days of the week. That's 1,000 less than the previous week and before the holiday, and 18,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Limousine and Limb Flex. If you're considering making a change in your genetics, you should think about Limousine and Limb Flex. you looked at your cattle feeders and they're taking these feeder cattle to bigger weights. So they need the kind of feeder animal that won't quit them, that will keep growing and keep gaining weight there. And some of these smaller friend cattle will quit them out there, and they can tell which ones. And you put a little bit of Limousine Limflex in there, give them more frame. Those cattle continue to perform into the bigger weights. Now that's a change from just a few years ago, but you got to play in the arena that we're in right now. Let Limousine and Limflex take you full circle. Visit NALF.org. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 258.80, up 59 cents. So you're continuing to gain there on your real-time index. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index at 257.33. Talk about Western Video Market sale. They sold their yearlings, and they were lucky to get them sold on Monday because of the way that the moods kind of soured on Tuesday. But they were selling lambs and weaned calves and replacement stock on Tuesday. And looking through their pretty impressive quotes at the Reno sale for Western Video Market. They take their online bids through DVAuction.com, and I was talking with JC Neeson that actually takes those online bids. He said it was crazy. He said people were bidding from all over the country online on that sale on just about every draft that went through. Kept him on his toes all day, and that was good for him. But talking about an early lot again that happened on Tuesday. I told you on our last visit that the first lot of yearlings they had on Monday was really good, and then they sold an early lot on Tuesday. It was the Morgan Sandhills Ranch from Atkinson, Nebraska on Western Video Market. They sold 275, and these were unweaned. They're featuring mostly weaned calves, but these were actually unweaned ball and steer calves. 700 pounds, current delivery. They did out of every bell and whistle you could put on them. I mean, every one. But ball and 700-pound steer calves for current delivery. The base weight is 700 pounds, 275 head of them. Bring $310. Wow. Very impressive there, Western Video Market. And then late in the afternoon, once they got on the replacement stock, Bill Barboni from Petaluma, California, he had 80 fancy bred heifers in there for current delivery. They're fall calvers for current delivery. 1,200 pound base weight on those bred heifers. Bring $3,700 per head. Thought that was pretty impressive too. Good sale there at Western Video Market. And today on Wednesday, they'll start early again and be selling fall delivery calves all day here on Wednesday with Western Video Market. Check them out, wvmcattle.com. If you're looking at a brick and mortar sale that's going to have some pretty impressive cattle on it on Wednesday, check out South Central Regional Stockyards in Vienna, Missouri. Saw that they're going to have a special sale there. Really, really fancy calves on there if you're interested in those. How about the big sales on Tuesday? And wasn't a lot of big sales again. Having a time getting going again. Of course, this is a slow time of year, but Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri had only 1,800 head through the ring. Another 250 head or so through their in-house video auction they do with the help from DVAuction.com. But Dan, my buddy that gives me this information, he said that the hurricane remnants that were coming up through there, already up there overnight on Monday night, Dan Hill said that it's moving like 30 miles an hour, but it doesn't ever stop. So that hurricane that hit the night before down around Houston was already overnight on Monday night up there in northern Arkansas and south central Missouri, and heavy rains through there made your receipts a lighter. But the calves were $10 to $15 higher on a light run. Feeder steers $2 to $4 higher, and feeder heifers were not well tested in West Plains, Missouri. Beaver County Stockyards had about 3,000 head for their regular sale on Tuesday. I told you on our last visit that they were going to have a lot of yearlings, a lot of loads of yearling steers, like 20-some loads of them. They sold really well, and they got them sold early before the board had anything to mess with it. But put them all together, they sold 660 head of 8-weight yearling feeder steers. They averaged 844 pounds with a weighted average price of $258.76. Another 600 head of 9-weight feeder steers in beaver averaged 970 pounds at $247.82 on all of them. Going to give you several individual quotes from around. How about Holton Livestock in Holton, Kansas? They have 51 steers, weighed 675 and bring 313.50. I-40 Livestock way out east in Ozark, Arkansas, and indeed right on I-40 there. They sold, sometimes they feature loads in there at Ozark, Arkansas, and they had them on Tuesday. 67 head of 840-pound feeding steers, bring $257.50. I thought that was impressive there. Just about $1 off your real-time index and 40 pounds bigger out there in Arkansas through the ring at Ozark, Arkansas. How about Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota? They sold 56 steers, weighed 840 pounds at $268.50. You think that's the most impressive quote? No, I got more, people. About an individual quote from Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. This is the Oklahoma Panhandle, people. They sold 88 steers, weighed 591 at $354.25. Big time quote there. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day come out of Fredonia Livestock Auction in Fredonia, Kansas. They had about 100 loads of yearlings, both through the ring and on in-house video that they do there. Brad Hahn does a good job owning and operating Fredonia Livestock. And the most impressive quote come out of there, it was 185 black steers, and they had a green condition right out of the Flint Hills there. 185 weighed 900 pounds smooth and bring 260. And that happened after 2 o'clock, so after the board closed on Tuesday. And I don't know that you could have got that out in the country. So you had to bring them into the sale barn to get that done. There was a few that sold higher than that in the country, and they'd be the best ones that walk, just like these. But current bidding is just short of that out in the country. So that's just one of many options that you guys have if you don't get them cattle sold private treaty, is taking them into a sale barn and finding out what they're worth. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.
I was involved with the Beef Improvement Federation and developed a really good relationship with Dr. Bonnie Curley, who was at the University of Missouri. Dr. Curley is the one that really put me on the in the back. We were at a meeting. Bonnie leans over and tells me, he says, hey, he says, that stuff it really works, and it's not only good on salmonella, but it's also confers some feed efficiency. And so we added that to our protocol when we bring in feeder calves from these different people.